Today, we'll be discussing the topic food insecurity. And it's a great pleasure to introduce our guest for today's discussion. Is Oyerinde Adeniyi. Oyerinde Adeniyi, a strategist, a thinker, a trainer, and an agripreneur. Agripreneur means a farmer. He farms in Kano. So we have today on the program a corporate farmer. Oyerinde Adeniyi is an enterprise development expert along the agriculture value chain. He deploys the skills of business intelligence and special human development creatively and by innovative thinking, bringing pragmatic solutions to the challenges of national and sustainable development, especially in the third world, with special interest in Africa. Unity, sustainable
One, is the food affordable? Two, is the food available? Three, is it what people want to eat? You're giving me rice and beans. What about if what I want to eat is not rice and beans? Food availability, production, distribution, and exchange. Food utilization. In SDGs, there's what we call hidden hunger. You might eat food for real, but is it nutritionally viable? Social value of the food. For example, pomo gives no nutritional value to the body, but definitely pomo has what's called social value. Then we now have food safety. How safe is the food we are eating? We talk about things like aflatoxin and all these things. These are actually what makes for food security. Not even the crisis we are now. We are at war. We're in crisis. We're in emergency situation that people have just what to eat. What we're talking about right now, and it's key because somebody said where there's hunger, poverty is not the supreme, and it reigns supreme.
Well, oh yeah, you have raised a number of questions. You experts, you make this thing look like rocket science. As far back as thousands of years ago, in ancient Egypt, Pharaoh, they faced famine, they faced food crisis, to use the phrase you prefer. Joseph was appointed governor of Egypt, and they provided food. And they said grains were available like the sands of the sea. And Egypt was able to manage the food crisis so well that even people came from neighboring countries to come and get food in Egypt. So why is it so difficult in Nigeria? One, where are the silos in Nigeria? Where they say we have food, that they are going to release food from. Where are they going to release the food from? You've raised the issue about structure. Do we have a structure in place? Yes. Do we indeed have a structure in place? You say it looks like palliatives. If it looks like palliatives, that means it will be done through the Ministry of Agriculture. The last time the Nigerian government gave palliatives through Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, we all know what happened though. Is it going to happen this time around? In other countries in the world, they have commodity exchanges because the purpose of releasing food from the grains reserve is to bring down prices and to prevent speculation and exploitation. Yes, I would like you to address the point you yourself raised about structure, about whether we even have the grains reserves. Do we have silos? How much do we have in the grains reserve? And you have raised the question, okay, if they say they are releasing maize, millet, rice, and beans, and all that, is that what people want to eat? How about releasing fish? How about releasing akroko to us to eat? How about making pepper soup and jollof rice available to us?
I think somebody from the presidency or from the Ministry of Agriculture may need to come in to really give us real answers for this. But definitely there are food reserves in Nigeria. There are. The question is not the food reserve, is that what is in the reserve? You might have food reserve, but what is in the reserve? I can't tell that. It's only the government that can tell us what is in the reserve. Two, is the reserve, can it really sustain the country? Nigeria is 220 million. If everybody eats only one plate of food per day, that's 220 million plate of food. Then what reserve would provide for that? I can't tell it for the government. That I can't. But the truth is that you mentioned the case of Joseph. There was the concept of abundance. There was storage. And there was accountability. Such that the excesses of the year of production was stored and properly stored and accounted for, such that the year of lack, the year that it was, the storage for the year of lack covered for it. Question: where is our storage? But before our storage, what about our production? One of the critical problems we even face in agriculture, our agricultural sector in Nigeria, is food waste. Post-harvest loss is huge. Once food is produced, before it gets to the market, there's close to between 40 to 60% loss. Now, who stores food in Nigeria? Food usually is stored in Nigeria to make gains. So when it's available, some people provide personal warehouse where they buy it for a particular amount, and we know that after a particular time it will be available. Then you mark up, you sell it up. That's what has been happening in Nigeria. It's not unlike other places where price is regulated, that when the food is available, nothing happens. When the food is unavailable, the government releases to create like subsidy in the community or in the country. So for us in Nigeria, the government that has told us this may need to also explain to us what it should really be. What Nigeria has been living by for a long time is the grace of God, as we used to say it, inshallah. So nature itself has been giving us buffer. But how long can you live at the mercy of nature before one is consumed? And that is what has come to us now. Our population is increasing. Our production capacity is decreasing because of insecurity and others. This is a bomb that has come to explode, and it's exploding probably gradually. What do we do in this kind of emergency situation? I think all hands must be on deck right now to solve this challenge.
Okay, you talked about middlemen. And before we talk about middlemen, I get your point about accountability. You have said Joseph was accountable as the governor of Egypt.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the point that, okay, the grains reserve is going to be released as palliatives. When Nigerians hear palliatives, they panic. But the middlemen you talk about, those middlemen you talk about, where are they in this equation? Who are the middlemen? The government has not given us details about whether it's the Ministry of Agriculture or middlemen. But you have expressed fears about middlemen. You also said something about Nigeria providing food for people in Europe when we are not eating here. Are you talking about smuggling? Is anybody smuggling food out of this country when Nigerian people are saying they cannot afford to eat?
Unfortunately, food is cheaper here. I think there's something called the law of osmosis. Things flow from the place of lower concentration to higher concentration. If the money abroad is more, food goes there more. Fine. I mean, it's not a rocket science. It's bootlegging and everything. It's clear. Now that our money is not as strong as safer, naturally food will flow to where money calls.
So what do you recommend to government? Can you tell government to adopt a protectionist policy? There are countries of the world who have said food cannot leave this country because our people need food. Are you recommending that to government? India did it when they banned the export of wheat. Indonesia did it when they restricted the export of palm oil. Egypt did it when they restricted the export of vegetable oil so that their people can have an advantage.
If it is implementable, I will say yes. If that's the question, that's what calls for question. Who will implement it? Who will execute the order? Accountability and integrity.
Okay, let's look at another issue. Look, Femi Falana, SAN,
Yes.
on this subject has had to go to court. And his argument before the Federal High Court Lagos is that Nigeria has a price control board. Nigeria
Yes.
has a price control act 2004,
Mm-hmm.
through which, if that body was functioning, the government of Nigeria can say that people cannot just increase the price of food arbitrarily.
Yes.
Most husbands now are in conflict with their wives because the wives come, they say that chop money has increased, and the husband will say, "I gave you this amount last month. Why has it increased this time around?" So it's like these figures are just going up between the market women who sell the goods, the products, and the wives. There seems to be a conspiracy against husbands. So why is a price control board not functioning? And Falana has secured victory at the Federal High Court, Court of Justice Luis Alagoa, who says that, look, government has a responsibility to fix the prices of food products as a farmer. Should government obey that court order and give instructions to those people in the market who have increased the price of everything? Because we may just be dealing here with sabotage.
Definitely, we are dealing with sabotage on one hand. But let us ask the government the truth. What infrastructure has the government provided for the people? Look at transportation, for example. Most things are moved from the rural areas to the urban areas where they are sold. Yet, there's increase in fuel price arbitrarily that affects every other thing. What has government done to stabilize that? Two, importation of most of the things we use as farm inputs are imported. The price of farm inputs is just going up crazy by the day. What has government done about that? So government that has not done anything about that cannot come and set price.
Okay.
How can they come and set the price for the market when even the price for the input is existing arbitrarily? And definitely many middlemen are taking advantage of that.
Well, Oye, are you now saying indirectly that the decision of the federal government to say grains should be released will not work? And I would also like you to help us interrogate the numbers. In one regard, we were told 42,000 metric tons. In another regard, we were told 102 metric tons. And then rice millers are supposed to release 60,000 metric tons of rice. Now, all these numbers, there will be cost attached. Who is going to bear that cost?
The government.
Where will the money come from?
Maybe to be borrowed.
How? How much is 100,000 metric tons of maize, for example, or 42,000 metric tons? I think we would like to know. I would like to know where that money is going to come from.
Then we need to right now, because I cannot speak for the government. I can't speak for them at all. I can only speak for the free markets. And presently I don't even have the cost of all those commodities at heart. But still back to it. See, sir, let all of us be true to life and true to everything. Government, be true. Where is the reserve? What is in the reserve? How do they intend to dispense or distribute to the people? In black and white, let them tell us. Two, I still ask the same question. What amount of food we consume per day, per week, per month? So that we can know that what is being released can really take care of the market. Two, when food is released from the strategic grain reserve, people who have the grain will store it. till it finishes. They will store until the reserve is unreserved or emptied. Then the price goes up again and the rat race continues.
So are you saying that farmers are the ones sabotaging the average Nigerian? So what should government do about these farmers who keep complaining and they will keep their own reserve and then jack up prices?
No, farmers don't even do that. Once farmers have it, they sell. Farmers, you see, sir, the challenge. I think we need a holistic approach to this. Our farms and our agriculture in Nigeria is controlled by what's called the smallholder farmers, and I work with a lot of them in Kano, Jigawa, Bida, and Co. There is a lot of problem even with them. For example, our farmers don't even have good record keeping. They don't have good record keeping management systems. So whatever is even gotten from them may not necessarily be the truth. It can only be estimates. So we cannot even do projections of them. I think, sir, I will speak to going forward. Going forward, we need to begin to look at youth, trained youth, literate youth in agriculture, not illiterate alone. Agriculture is not just a culture. Agriculture is a business, and it should be treated as such. Agriculture is a business, and it should be treated as such. It is the feeder to the industry. It is not just about food. I mean, at this level of life, we're talking about food to eat. What about sir? If there's agriculture cannot even provide the raw material for industry, which employs people and gives them the capacity to be able to afford to buy the food, then we're in big trouble. It's not just rice, maize, and we're talking about. What about the cassava in the industrial form, which now creates industries? Food. I mean, food is not the only thing. The economy does not thrive only on food. So, okay, for example, Africa produces about $2 billion worth of cocoa yearly. Yet, the chocolate industry is about almost $200 billion worth. Why? We are still playing in the raw material field. We're not creating value, and the value chain is not. We're not making gains from the value chain. We are still talking about hunger. When in this age of drone, AI, machine learning, we are still talking about hoe and cutlass. When you're talking about precision technology in agriculture, we're talking about how the small farmers can. We're talking about subsistence farming, where one farmer in some part of the world can cultivate about 5,000 hectares of land with his automated machines. Until we begin to speak to this, we are far from the answer in Nigeria, sir. It's not just the local farmers alone, but what are we doing about commercial farming, mechanized farming, and youth in farming who can be trained properly? Look at it. Let's look at an example, sir. If there's 100 hectares of land, and as of today, an average Nigerian farmer farms less than an hectare of land, probably half an hectare or so. And if, for example, 100 hectares of land is divided into among four graduates who understand technology, who can be trained, the production capacity and the productivity will be higher than looking for 100 local farmers who will be chasing around, who will not even obey or follow the right agronomic practices. It is not about small farm holders. Youth in agriculture, where are they? IT in agriculture, where is it? But I think the minister and the people in our agency may need to answer the other ones. I can't answer for them, sir.
Okay, well, I mean, let's look at policy. We've been talking about agricultural production, diversification of the economy, even in the face of the economic crisis in Nigeria at the moment. The CBN governor, who appeared before the Senate yesterday, has been saying part of the strategy to bring down inflation is to increase agricultural production. Now, it's just that textbook knowledge. How do we increase agricultural production if there is insecurity? Farmers in Benue State, in Plateau, cannot go to farms. In Southern Kaduna, they cannot go to farm because of insecurity. And yet government keeps telling us agricultural production. We have had Operation Feed the Nation. We have had Green Revolution. We have had what they are recommending now. Esenko, there was a time under the military they were talking about Esenko, where they were fixing prices of commodities for people. What is the guarantee that this latest policy choice will work?
There's a policy formation or formulation is different from policy implementation or execution. So no matter how beautiful or laudable the policy you form, if they are not followed to the letter, it will never succeed. Like somebody said something that you don't like love. Somebody said love is not a noun, love is a verb. So, I mean, you cannot just form policy and it is potential. That's why the Nigerians always call potential. The policy is good in book, fine. But policy in book is just lying there. It cannot do anything until it is not even just implemented, but properly implemented, which speaks to institutions and structures.
Okay, before we throw open the lines, because there are persons who have joined us on Zoom who also like to express their own views. There are persons listening to us at home on live streaming and via WhatsApp and elsewhere. You are a farmer, a Kano-based farmer. What, as a farmer, are the major challenges you have had to face?
The continuous instability of the price of input is crazy. It's almost impossible to make budgets that you are sure it will be followed through. You could have made budgets which is your expression of EOP on what to farm and how it will be. By the time you get to buy things, it has multiplied. How do you get the money? That's one. Insecurity is an issue that exists. I don't want to talk about insecurity right now. But those other things that the input, the farm inputs alone is killing. Two, there are no long-term loans really for farmers. The loans and the credit line is too stringent for farming. Farming is a delicate field, and any small thing, any little thing, you could be wiped off. So what are the shields provided for farmers? It's almost not there.
Okay. Oyadini, I think at this point, let's throw the lines open. Take comments from persons who have joined us on Zoom. I've seen some hands up already. Dr. Boniface Chiziad, J.K. Pele of TAF Africa, I also see his hands up. But quickly, Adams, I also see your hand up there, and I've seen quite a number of comments via Zoom. But let's take this quick commercial break, and when we return, the conversation will continue. You can join us via 0700-1051-1051. You can also send us WhatsApp messages on 09099164403. Oh, I see so many hands up. Kenneth, Fuluke Sholaujo, Jacob Pele, let's have a conversation around this subject as we take this commercial break and we'll return quickly.
are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it. It's okay.
When you need unbiased information, balanced analysis, reviews, and insight on the policies and programs that concern you, listen to City Talks with Reuben Abati. Be a part of it. Call 0700 1051 1051 to lend your voice on topics and help shape our country for the better.
My name is Reuben Abati. I will be your host on City Talks from noon to 1 p.m. every Saturday. Join me as we dissect major issues of public interest. You will be glad you did.
City Talks with Reuben Abati on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051. From noon to 1 p.m. every Saturday.
Well, welcome back from that commercial break. And for those of you who are just tuning in, welcome to City Talks with Reuben Abati on your number one lifestyle station, City 1051 FM. And I remain your host, Reuben Abati. Now, we've been discussing the topic, food insecurity. Our guest says it's beyond insecurity, it's a crisis. He says it's a food crisis. And I have with me saying that Oyeyonide Adeniyi, a strategist, thinker, trainer, and agripreneur. Remember, if you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 07001051 1051. You can also call us on WhatsApp 09099164403 and on our social media accounts at City 1051 on Zoom, Instagram, and Facebook. We will now take calls, so please dial in to engage in the conversation. And please, when you do so, tell us who you are and where you are calling from.
Hello.
And I have persons already who have joined us via Zoom. Let me start with Mr. Jake Ekpele. Mr. Jake Ekpele, thank you for joining us. Jake Ekpele, are you out there?
Okay, hello.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Doc, good morning, and thank you for your innovative way of engaging Nigerians. And thank you for your guest, who is very knowledgeable on this subject matter. I think the problem with us, first, I want to talk briefly about Joseph's strategy. Joseph's strategy was simple. It was a combination of strategy, which is critical thinking and critical action, plus energy, which is human resources, deployment of human resources that will give a desired result. So in the case of Nigeria, we run around energetically without strategy. We try to be very reactive in place of proactive measure. But the problem with food insecurity is more on what we do with post-harvest storage. We just produce and consume, no proper post-harvest storage. And my brother, who is, in the space of agriculture has never been treated as real business. Agriculture is treated as, go to the farm, get food, bring it home, we eat. The entire value chain have not been interrogated. There's a need to recognize that accountant is needed in agriculture to keep the finances and the books. A marketer is needed in agriculture to market the products. A food preserver is needed to, find measures by which food can be preserved. And of course, when we eat both the flesh of the fruit and the seed, the next harvest, the next planting cycle, we will have nothing to plant. So I think we need to look at proactive measures on how we can get the right crops, plant them, harvest them. I mean, are you talking about the waste in harvest? There are many farmers that will harvest crops. They are not able to move it out of their farm because of no transportation. and then eventually it will rot away. So it's a whole gamut of problem that needs to be addressed. And of course, finally, Dr. Reuben, when you are trying to find problem, you don't recognize the people that will feel the pinch the most. You will never find solution. We need to also think of inclusive agricultural measures, inclusive of persons with disability. That's my community. I cannot talk without them. What measures are we putting in place to engage? That's a huge network of labor that is redundant. Those who are on the wheelchair, there's a lot they can do with their hands when given the opportunity. But first of all, I want to thank you, sir, for stirring up this conversation, and I thank your guest for his insightful knowledge. I will stop here. If opportunity is given to me, I'll come back to it. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Jacob Pele. I'm sure that all the participants in this conversation will, underline the points that you have raised about inclusivity, the interests of persons who are physically challenged and who are also, who also have the capacity, who are able to participate effectively in the agriculture value chain. But I'm sure our guest has listened to you very well, the point you raised about post-harvest storage and also agriculture not being taken as serious business. Let's hear from Dr. Boniface Chizia, and after Dr. Boniface Chizia, we'll go to Folashade Ojo. Dr. Chizia, thank you again for joining us.
All right, Reuben, it's my pleasure. I think that I just want to make a few comments. I think that the president has been away from the country and he's been accused. A number of accusations have been leveled against him. And so he walks back, and the crisis in the land. So the president is being seen as like Nero, who was a villain when Rome was aflame. So he comes back, and then he wants to be seen to be doing something. I think that that announcement he made about grain reserves and so on and so forth, and bringing them out and sharing them and so on. If you ask me, it's been made without any scant attention to details. I believe that in fact, as the president, what grains do we have? Where are they stored? In what state are they, and so on and so forth. He's not in a position to give you. So somebody that just told him, go and make this announcement. So he just made it. And I think that we shouldn't place so much store on that. That's my take. That's the first thing I want to say. Now the other point is that the other point is that talking about price control, like our resource person did say, you control the price of petrol and diesel and so on, important things. How are you going to what are you going to control? What capacity do you have? Go to the market and begin to control prices. It's worked in the past. It will never work. So we shouldn't. I say Femi Falana, famous son, agitator by excellence, going all over the place and going to court. Fine. That's what he wants to do. So I think that there are challenges in this country. We better face them. Let's fight rate of exchange, fight inflation, and so on. Good inflation in the people have that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chizia. Dr. Chizia says Rome bonds, Nero fidos, but government spokespersons will not agree that President Tinubu is fiddling, given the fact that he has declared an emergency on food insecurity. Folashade Ojo, I thought I saw her hand up. If we could just bring her into the conversation. Hello?
Okay, thank you very much, Abati. Hello?
Hello, yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
I am Foluke Shola Ojo.
Okay, Foluke Shola Ojo. Okay,
yes,
Foluke Shola Ojo. I messed up the name. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I lectured in the University of Ilorin and the Faculty of Agriculture. So when I saw this advert, I was very excited because it's a laudable program. Thank you, Dr. Abati, for this type of program. It's a laudable one for this time around because it is really a food crisis situation. And I'm sure that this program is born out of your passion for our dear country, because I used to watch some of your other programs at Arise TV as well. Thank you, sir. My own contribution is this. Government needs to come out this time around and support policy makers on agriculture, to support them, to support farming through provision of inputs, farm inputs, and if possible, mechanization of agricultural process to bring out food at the end of the day. If this is done, young farmers will be able to, we have interest in farming, and quite a number of them will be farming, and this will help us a lot. Secondly, there is need for government to do something during glut.
Hello, Foluka, you seem to be breaking off.
Okay, facility. You said there are no silos in this thing. And if government is I said if government is if they are supporting the farmers, they will be able to regulate the price. You cannot regulate for somebody that you are not supporting. You are not supporting the farmer in any way. You cannot regulate their So government should be able to point of to harvesting stage and do so that they can really like this time around. Then all of us should go back into backyard farming. Backyard farming should be encouraged now. Sack farming, pot farming, everybody should go back to farming and provide at least what you and your family can eat. As long as food is important, nobody should be exempted from backyard farming. This will help a lot of households. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for looking to support for farmers in terms of inputs and also people going back to the basics, which is a familiar phrase. Let's hear very quickly from Ola Barnabas. Oyadini, please be patient. We have so many people who are interested in this subject. Ola Barnabas, quickly.
Good afternoon, Dr. Abati. Good afternoon, everybody who is listening to us. This is quite an interesting conversation for me because, I kind of have a history with Mr. Oyoride himself. He and I have been, we've been trainers along this line to various group of farmers and actors along the agricultural value chain around the country. So, the reason I said that is this: you see, some of the places that we've been in to train these farmers, Dr. Abati, we cannot go back to those places to go and run any training again, because those places have now been overrun by bandits. The farmers can no longer go back to the farms to do anything. If we're looking at the big picture of this problem, it goes back into insecurity. If we are unable to deal with one problem, it spirals into another. It has multiplier effect. It goes round and round and it touches everything. Our inability to deal with little problems of people not allowing people to go to farm has now become a food crisis problem for us in this country. We wouldn't even be talking about silos and food storage and everything if what do we call them now? The subsistence farmers are able to produce are available in the market. But in a place where used to have 100 farmers, for example, and in those places you no longer have 10 farmers who are viable anymore. And we are looking forward to the government being able to produce food from anywhere. We are just deceiving ourselves. And the governments, want to say things that everybody wants to hear. They will go back to the silos and go and produce food. From where? Who made food available to the government to store in the silos? Did the government import food from anywhere that is stored in which silo that are going to release from anywhere? It's just a lie. These things are not available because the subsistence farms are no longer viable. People have left their farms. They are now in IDPs. For those of them who are not in IDPs, they have tried to relocate from those places. And so it's just a mess. We must deal with the problem of insecurity if we will be able to find a way forward with this problem, with this issue of food crisis. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Barnabas. Can we hear from Umar Sani? I also see his hand up on Zoom. Umar Sani, the cat, my very good friend.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. I must say that this topic is coming at the time that the country is facing acute food crisis. I must also add that at one point in time I was a subsistence farmer, but the experience was not something that I can clap for myself. At a point, I was also a procurement manager of a particular company in Kaduna, which was set up by the state government to buy goods so that we'll be able to sell at affordable rates to individuals. But it's named Caterpillar stores. But even at that, I have visited almost all the commodity markets, in the north. But the experience is worth the while. Dr. Abati, I'm sure you are aware that there are grain silos. You remember that during the last batch of President Jonathan's government, we went to Kogi State to commission some 100,000 metric tons of grain silos. There are other existing grain silos in Rigachikun, which has about 20,000 metric tons, and some others at Birnungwari in Kafanchan that have about 5 metric tons. They can house about 5 metric tons, and quite a lot. But whether there are grains in such silos is what is the issue. But there are silos, and they are well located. So I know I can. In fact, I have some of their locations, their pictures, and everything. When we went for the commissioning. So, having said this, I want to say that for the grains, the minister has come out to say that they were releasing 42,000 metric tons. So perhaps the calculation of 102,000 metric tons is emanating from an expectation from what the 60,000 metric tons that will be coming out from the rice millers, which will now make it about 102,000 metric tons. Otherwise, I cannot imagine that government has the capacity to house 102,000 metric tons of grains when the security situation is at its worst at this point in time. So it is my considered opinion that government needs to tackle insecurity, to tackle all those negative vices before people can now be asked to go back to farm. Because nobody is willing to go back to farm when kidnapping has now even moved from the outskirts of the town to even to your house. You can be kidnapped in your own house. So how sure are you that when you go back to farm, you will be able to meet the expectations? You remember that Dr. Adeshina, has changed the face of agriculture in Nigeria. He has brought in so many initiatives, that was, making waves at that time. You remember we went to Kebbi State to commission 26 mechanized rice mills and so many other, initiatives. But the situation then and now, are they the same? That is the issue. They are not the same. So we have a responsibility. Citizens want to farm, and even at subsistence level, but where do you even get the land to farm? And even if you get the land, how do you farm outside the outskirts and you are not sure of your security, your safety, and some other factors? So I think this thing has to be looked at again. And I thank the guest for coming to give us, this very scintillating lecture about the situation, in the agricultural sector. I am not an agriculturalist. I'm a media personality. But then, it is important for us to chook mouth in every matter that affects us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Umar Sani. Well, I have a dilemma now. I have about 6 persons who still have their hands up, and I know there are persons out there like Dr. from Ushodi, who will also like to weigh in on this subject by phoning in. But okay, we just understand that this subject is important to all of us. They say when food enters the stomach, all your problems are solved. So that's, yes, that's a Yoruba saying. So I can understand why everybody is passionate about this subject. But if you can hear from Comrade Issa Remu, who I also saw, earlier on, putting his hand up. If he's still with us, let's hear from Comrade Issa Remu to give us the labor perspective. Comrade Aremu, are you still here?
Are you hearing me?
Okay, I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, okay. I think, but let me, to you, say hi to all the people in the house. But let me appreciate you for bringing Oyeri Day to remind us that we may be secure of being on the final list for AFCON tomorrow, but we are not yet put secure as a nation. And that after after winning the cup, and I not really win the cup, but we have not started anything. We have not, we were unable to feed ourselves. And I think I want to thank Oyeri Day for the effort you brought to be, highlighting the food crisis that we have. But I think mine is that my good intervention is that well, we are not supposed to be a debating society. I think it's time for solutions. As much as possible. Even though when I look at you, you look more food secure than some of us with the masses. So what is the miracle that you and Abati are looking so overfed? And yes, some of us are living on 1 meal per day, and that raises the class dimension of food security. When we talk of food insecurity, there are people who are overfed. In fact, some couldn't get sleep because they are overeating. Some are unable to sleep because they couldn't eat. But the result is this. So I think in this hour, we need to disaggregate the discussion. If you want to talk of national insecurity, elite, me and you, we are secure. It's only the ordinary people that are not. So the suggestion I want to make is that we should return to national development plan as much as possible. All those points was written about data, lack of statistics. Even if you want to use Joseph model, they operated based on planning. For somebody to post Professor Joseph to go to Egypt and as a governor, there was some level of planning on the part of the king. So we need concrete planning. There was once in Nigeria that had first development plan, second development plan, and we are more food secure as the way we are now. We can't leave the food crisis, food issue to market forces. That cannot work. And we have seen it. We have tried it. We dismantled marketing boards. We dismantled commodity exchanges and co. And now we are where we are, back to nick-jack importation. When at the time we are already doing food sufficiency. So my quick suggestion is that let's try and return to national development plan. I know there is one already succeeding. I think we should discuss within that context so that all stakeholders get forced into it. Federal, state, farmers, and we set targets to know when we need to feed ourselves. I know you made the point. We are not just to secure Nigeria, we have to secure the entire continent. If Nigeria cannot feed, Africans can feed. I mean, that's just the reality of it. We have the land, we have the resources. But this can only be done if we operate within a broad national development plan. This is just my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Comrade Issa Remo. I mean, if we continue with this conversation, we'll be here probably the whole day, given the scope of interventions. But I have this via WhatsApp from Adegboyega Adediji. He says, federal government of food insecurity will open up the reserve. Yes. The question is, which reserve? Is there anything in the reserve? Where are the reserves located? Are they still functioning? Adewale Adedeji says, these are important questions to be asked. There are emergency meetings on food shortage, food insecurity have ended, but the problem still remains. The last time Buhari administration wanted to prove to Nigerians that there is enough rice in Nigeria, we all saw the scam pictures and videos of the rice pyramid they claim to have in store and in reserve. And yet, an average Nigerian couldn't afford to buy a bag of rice. Adegoyega Adedeji. But before we close, and I come back to you, Adeniyi, let's quickly take the intervention of Ambassador Ayo Olukomi, who used to be Director General of NASIMA. Ambassador Olukoni, very briefly, and then we'll wrap up this program right now.
Well, thank you very much, Reuben, for giving me this opportunity. I think one of the question I would like to ask is that what exactly are the state governments doing in terms of the whole issues of food insecurity? Because every time we go on to talk about the national, the federal government, at the end of the day, the local government and the respective state government have a lot of responsibility. Look at your state. Look at the citrus zone in your state. What are they doing? If you go to Benue, do we have to bring the federal government to this in each time? It comes back to the whole question and issues of our inverted federalism at every time. I was in Israel for 4 years, and I know and I remember I went around the kibbutz, and the kibbutz was replicated by Western region in form of the agricultural settlement all across the place. I come from Elisha. It is the Lepentis Foundation that bought it. What exactly are they doing at that particular level? Rather than say that at every time we must go on to Abuja, the National Development Plan is what will help us. The respective state government, at the end of the day, have a lot of responsibility. 50th anniversary of IITA, I was in Ibadan for it. Dr. Additional invited me. And the question people are asking is that, I remember when they asked, where is your governor? I think it was the commissioner or somebody like that, that this is IITA next to you in Ibadan. And there are a lot of research and development issues. What exactly are they doing? As DG NASIMA, I remember that I went and had a meeting with them. And the strategy was to make sure that the respective chambers, city chambers of commerce, Ibadan chambers of commerce, Warri chambers of commerce, Kaduna chambers of commerce, can tap into the research and development and help at the end of the day in terms of agricultural production. We cannot leave everything like the question, where are the green reserves? What do they have in there? So my submission is that the respective state government should take up the challenge. Work closely with the local government. A lot of farmers are in and out functioning in the local government. What is the support they are giving? The federal government has more than enough contradiction. The dollar is running away, and they are running after it. But the food is at least near us in here. So let the respective state government take care and work closely with the farmers as well as others in this particular area. And let us not bother. The federal government is a lot of things which, like I said, the dollar is running away in different directions. And they're still working and seeing where would they catch the dollar. If I want to buy poly the other day, Mama Kike says for me, he said, customer, he said it is 450 naira. I said no. He said no. Transportation and everything. I said this one I bought last week for just 200. He said that is it. What are the granules? As a granule used to be 15 naira. They put it inside the small nylon. They say 15 naira is no longer 15 naira. It's 100 naira. I said for where? I said sorry. He said that is it. I mean, to cut a long story short, let us challenge the respective state government and work closely with them in terms of the question of the agricultural production to tackle this question of insecurity, food insecurity. I sincerely hope we'll have enough to eat tomorrow after winning the match. I was trying to get something ready to eat.
Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Keep up the good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ambassador Olukone, and thank you. I apologize to the persons who wanted to also intervene and they couldn't do so. Engineer Ebenezer Kate, in particular, we have to wrap up this program. We're already overrunning. So let me come back to you, Adeniyi, to respond to some of the issues that have been raised in the course of the conversation as we begin to wrap up now. Quickly, briefly.
Thank you, sir. The issue is that everybody has spoken very well. And I wish we have an emergency way to solve this long-term problem. But like everybody has said, we need its hands on deck now. The federal government, the state government, the local government, the the everyday man must be all inclusive. Even the physically challenged, we must all come together to recognize that we're in a crisis mode, and we need to find a way to get out of this crisis as quickly as possible, as fast as possible, and as possibly as possible, if there's any English like that. What I mean to say is talk about it. The truth is that, sir, where is the local government? Where is the state government? Everything goes to the federal government. Why? They have allocations, don't they? They have assets as land. Yes, they do. I saw a production of the Niger state government where they're trying to get like 1 million hectares of land into commercial agriculture. I wish such projects could become real. If like a state like Niger State can cultivate 1 million hectares of land, that will change the paradigm. If it's really done. So it's not just about the federal government alone. There's a movie docu series I watched, Men Who Built America. American rail was not done by the government. Individuals did it. Most of the things that America is using today were done by private people. But it's only in my country, everything, the federal government. I am hungry, federal government. My child failed jam, federal government. I have toothache, federal government. I have the water in my well is dry, federal, everything, government. In fact, there was a day I was amazed when I saw a state governor saying the problem they have is federal government. I said, yes, now there's a big problem. If government is saying government is the problem, then there's a big problem. But accountability and our capacity to be able to become, somebody talk about proactive. We are too reactive in my country, Nigeria. We are too reactive. When it has happened, we now react. When they release the thing, everybody goes back to default mode. So, sir, we should become intentional people. I think I will run up with that. Nigerians, let us become intentional. As Ambassador Comrade said, we should become intentional to a plan. Stick to the plan and follow through. I think I would like to stop here, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Oyerinde Adeniyi, for joining us, taking time out to discuss a very important subject that we have addressed today. And I also like to thank all the persons who tried to call in, who couldn't take calls because there was a bombardment from every angle. But thank you, those who reach out to us on Zoom and also Facebook and also WhatsApp. Remember, the conversation does not end here. You can still reach out to me personally on my social media account at Abati1990 and on Instagram also. And you can reach out to the station at City1051 on all social media platforms. And for those of you who just tuned in, well, there's no need to worry. You can visit our YouTube page, City1051, to watch the entire show. And when you do so, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave comments. And don't forget to tune in also next week at 12 noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Charles Flames, Oluwaseun Adeditun, Ayodamola Oludara, Oluwatobiloba Samson, and Abiola Oduntu. The executive producer is Adedoja Allen. Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye for now. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again next week.
Most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it. It's okay.
When you need unbiased information, balanced analysis, reviews, and insight on the policies and programs that concern you, listen to City Talks with Reuben.